Comrade and Peers. This one is about linking the battles of your campaign together, and the most effective way, besides story, are casualties and experience. Most people like experience and seeing their troops getting better, but the more important point are casualties. So we begin with this one. You could enter each new scenario or campaign battle with a fresh force, but this would rob you the feeling of connection to your troops. They take the brunt of your action, and a general should notice this. In most games, players fight to the end, or take every risk or gamble to win. If you transfer casualties to the next battle, this will change for good. After any battle, you get an accumulated count of losses. Individual figures in skirmish games or whole units in mass combat games. Mass combat games often have wounded units too. Wounded individuals in skirmish games could be ignored. How you can transfer this to casualties? We start with single losses, where one miniature equals one loss. A good rule of thumb would be a quarter killed in action, a quarter severe wounded, a quarter lightly wounded, and a quarter ready for action. Or if you like to throw some d6, a 6 or 5 killed or too badly wounded for this campaign, 4 to 3 lightly wounded, and 2 or 1 battle ready. Lightly wounded should be out of the game for 1 or 2 weeks or battles. Double this for severe wounded losses. In mass combat games, we treat each wound as a potential casualty and then use the same procedure as in skirmish games. So a lot of units will go into the next battle damaged. Similar units can converge to bring their strength up again. But if they aren't fully compatible, the weaker unit will be the base of the converged unit. Some systems, as Black Powder, have different unit sizes. If that's the case, a unit reaching half its original strength or less should be downgraded one level. Large becomes regular, regular becomes small. You can easily expand these guidelines for additional effects. The army holding the field at the end of a battle could suffer 10% less casualties or get a -1 on its die roll. Or the more bloody version of it, getting a +1 on your d6 if you surrender the field. Another example could be an undead army, which only suffers half its casualties if it's lost none of its necromancers, or treats each in-game loss as a casualty when more than half of the necromancers were wounded. This can lead to interesting tactics in battle. If you consider using casualties in longer campaigns, you also should consider in reinforcements. This should need some time to arrive, a week or after the next battle, and there should be only a limited number of them. A pool of 5% of the army's wounds or figures per week or battle could keep an army operational on long term. If you measure the reinforcements in wounds or figures, you should restore casualties on a given ratio. Regulars on a 1x1 base, veterans or elites on a 1 for 2 or 4 reinforcement points, and green units on a 2-to-1 base. This also can be customized to your campaign. In the case of an invasion, the attacker could start with an advantage in numbers, but only the defender would get reinforcements, dependent on the terrain he can hold. If he, for example, defends a land with 3 cities, he could get 2% of reinforcement points for each city. Now to experience. If you don't play in high fantasy environments, experience should be distributed cautiously. Surviving a battle does not result in better shooting or faster marches, but it affects morale. The most efficient unit on each side should get a morale buff in its next battle, a one-time reroll from a morale test or an activation test. To upgrade a green unit to a regular one, it should survive 2 or more battles in which they were engaged. This unit should then only be reinforced with regular reserves. Veterans are usually the only units which survived the whole campaign in a good state. But if you play high fantasy games, you could lower this to 4 battles without bad conscience. So far my thoughts about casualties and experience. If you have any other options, let me know in the comments. Till then.